Stop waiting for lightning bolts and burning bushes. You've been looking for God in the spectacular, the dramatic, the undeniable, while missing Him in the subtle, the quiet, the everyday miracles happening right in front of you. You think because there's no booming voice from heaven that He's silent. But what if I told you that the delay you're frustrated by is actually divine redirection? What if the door that closed saved you from something you couldn't see? What if God's best work in your life is happening in the places you're not even looking? I see you. I've watched you dismiss the coincidences as luck, the perfect timing as chance, the narrow escape as random. I saw you get frustrated when the flight was delayed, only to later discover there was an accident on the route you would have taken. I was there when you missed the job opportunity you wanted, then found something better 6 months later. You've been so focused on what didn't happen that you missed what did. God's unseen hand protecting, guiding, positioning you for something you couldn't yet understand. Type Amen if you've been overlooking the hidden blessings.
There's a story in the Bible about a young woman named Esther. She was an orphan, raised by her cousin Mordecai in a foreign land. Her life was ordinary, unremarkable, until the king decided to choose a new queen. Esther was brought to the palace along with many other women, not because she campaigned for it, but because circumstances orchestrated beyond her control placed her there. She went through months of preparation, beauty treatments, training, seemingly random processes that felt disconnected from any divine plan. But here's what Esther didn't know yet. Every seemingly insignificant moment was preparation for the most significant moment of her life. While Esther was in the palace, a man named Haman, full of pride and hatred, crafted a plan to annihilate all the Jewish people in the empire. A genocide, and Esther, now queen, was the only one positioned to stop it. But she didn't get there through dramatic signs or obvious miracles. She got there through a series of seemingly ordinary events. Being beautiful enough to be noticed, being humble enough to be favored, being positioned at exactly the right time in exactly the right place. And when Mordecai told her about the threat, he said something powerful. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
But here's what you didn't know. Esther's placement wasn't luck. It was divine orchestration. Every delay, every process, every moment that felt mundane was God moving pieces on a board Esther couldn't see. The beauty treatments, preparation. The favor with the king, positioning. The timing of Haman's plot, perfect alignment for Esther's purpose. God wasn't absent in Esther's story. He was working invisibly, arranging circumstances, opening doors, closing others, all to position one woman to save an entire nation. And she almost missed it because it didn't look like a miracle. It looked like life. This is where most people miss it. They think God only moves in the dramatic, the parting of seas, the collapsing of walls, the raising of the dead. But most of the time, God moves in the mundane, in the delay that protects you, in the closed door that redirects you, in the chance encounter that changes everything, in the quiet nudge you almost ignore. And when you only look for the obvious, you miss the miracles happening in the margins. Comment 777 if you're ready to see God's unseen hand at work.
So let me ask you, what coincidence have you dismissed that was actually divine intervention? What delay have you been frustrated by that was actually protection? What closed door have you been mourning that was actually redirection? Esther didn't recognize her preparation as purpose until the crisis came. But when it did, she realized every single moment, even the ones that felt insignificant, had been leading her to this. God's hand wasn't obvious, but it was there. And it's been there in your story too. You just haven't been looking for it in the right places. Within the next 30 days, something is going to happen that will make you stop and realize God was working even when I couldn't see it. A conversation will happen that reveals why
that opportunity fell through. A breakthrough will come that shows you why the delay was necessary. A connection will form that makes you understand why that door had to close. And in that moment, you'll see it, the unseen hand that's been guiding you all along. This is your Esther moment. God's been preparing you in the hidden places for a purpose you're about to step into.
Here's your action starting today. For the next 30 days, keep a hidden blessings journal. Every night, write down 3 things that happened that day that you could have dismissed as coincidence, but might have been God. The parking spot that opened up right when you needed it. The text from a friend at the exact moment you were thinking about them. The unexpected check that came in the mail. The decision that felt random but turned out perfect. Train your eyes to see the unseen, because the more you look for God's hand in the small things, the more you'll recognize His work in the big things. Esther didn't just save herself, she saved her entire people, but she had to be brave enough to step into the moment when it came. She had to approach the king uninvited, risking her life, trusting that the same God who positioned her in the palace would protect her in the throne room. And He did. The king extended his scepter. Esther found favor. Haman's plot was exposed. The Jewish people were saved. And Esther's story became proof that God's unseen hand is always working, even when we can't see it, even when we don't feel it, even when it looks like ordinary life. Type Amen to activate this new vision over your life.
You think nothing's happening because you don't see the dramatic, but God is moving in the delays, the detours, the divine appointments you were calling coincidences. That flat tire that made you late, it might have saved you from an accident. That job rejection, it might have protected you from a toxic environment. That relationship that ended, it might have cleared the path for the right person. You've been frustrated by what didn't happen, but you haven't celebrated what did. God's invisible protection, provision, and positioning. Stop looking for the burning bush. Start recognizing the everyday miracles, the breath in your lungs, the strength to get through another day, the friend who called at the perfect time, the opportunity that showed up out of nowhere, the peace that came when you thought you'd break. These aren't accidents. They're evidence of an unseen hand actively working on your behalf. And the more you acknowledge them, the more you'll see them.
Esther's story wasn't just about one woman saving a nation. It was about recognizing that God's best work happens in the unseen, in the preparation that feels pointless, in the favor that feels random, in the timing that feels coincidental, but it's not. It's divine. And when you start seeing your life through that lens, everything changes. The delays become preparation. The closed doors become protection. The ordinary moments become divine appointments. And you realize God has been here all along. You just weren't looking in the right place. The next 30 days are your window. Train your eyes to see what you've been missing. Start the journal. Acknowledge the hidden blessings. Celebrate the unseen miracles. And when the moment comes, when the purpose you've been prepared for reveals itself, you won't question whether God was there. You'll know because you've been watching His hand move in the margins all along. Stop waiting for the obvious. Start recognizing the unseen. God's best work happens in the places you're not looking, and He's been working for you this whole time.